Franco Colapinto has joined Alpine. This is not a drill, but I want to talk about it because I'm somewhat confused. I think there's a lot of place for speculation here. Okay, this is big news. I wasn't planning on talking today about Formula One, but here we are. Welcome everyone live on YouTube, everyone audio only on Apple Podcast, Spotify, all that after the fact. I might be a bit off it because New Year, right? 2025, I've not been live yet this year. This is the first time all year I've been live. But here we are to talk all about Franco Colapinto, who has joined Alpine. Vamos, Franco. He joins us on a multi-year deal. Franco will be our reserve driver for 2025. Very, very, very interesting. There's been a lot of talk about this. It's not been a particularly well-kept secret. We know Alpine have been interested since kind of the middle of last season. Their name was in amongst Red Bull as well. Red Bull had their interest, which kind of levelled off towards the end of the year, perhaps because of Franco's crash happiness. Unfortunately, it started well. It didn't finish so well for him, but still he did make an impression, did he not? And, well, Alpine are very interested. So much so that they've taken him on. Question is, why? Because you've got Jack Doohan in the car, you've got Pierre Gasly in the car. Jack's had one race, and I do feel for him. I do feel a bit for Jack, right? Because, look, this is his moment, right? He's got his opportunity. He's done his work in the simulator as a reserve driver at Alpine. He's cracked on, he's got his head down, and he's got the seat. And obviously now Franco Colapinto has become an option. It feels like there's this kind of, I don't know, concerted effort for him to fail. A lot of people want him to fail. And I think this is, this is more wanting to see Franco in a seat because Franco has shown that his peaks of performance merit a Formula One seat. But I would argue from what we saw, certainly in Formula 2, and again, we can't judge Jack on, he's had one race at the end of the season, right? I don't think you can read too much into that. Based on his F2 career, I think Jack firmly does deserve the opportunity. And again, if he's put all the work in the simulator, he's done all reserve duties, they will have data on Jack to establish whether he's good enough to take on that main seat, and they have given it to him. But the thing is, Alpine are definitely keeping their options open because, well, now Franco has joined the team. Okay, he will be an Alpine reserve next season. Maybe he won't be a reserve all season. People are saying, 5 races, Jack gets half a season, whatever. Again, look, I think Alpine will look at the numbers. They'll be able to look at Franco's numbers. They'll be able to look at Jack's numbers. They'll be able to look, they've got options, right? They'll be able to look at Paul Aron's numbers as well. Okay, Paul Aron was announced as an Alpine driver. He was Mercedes before last season in Formula 2, wasn't he? Made a really good impression in Formula 2 last year. Was the most consistent driver, I think, over the course of the season. Finally did get his race win towards the end, in Qatar, wasn't it? He did a fantastic job, I think, did Paul Aron. Really put himself on the market. And, of course, at High Tech, which was Ollie Oakes' old F2 team. So signing Paul Aron, they must see something in him. They must see something in him to give him that opportunity. So you've got 3 young drivers out of these 4. Pierre Gasly's a sure thing, right? He's driving fantastically. He's reminding me of his 2021 self, which was streets will not forget the 2021 Pierre Gasly. But you got Jack Doohan, okay? Did a fantastic job in F2 against Porsche, Vesti. If he hadn't have had that difficult start to the season where he had a bit of an issue with the chassis, his second 2/3 of that F2 season, his most recent one, were fantastic. He outscored everyone. Paul Aron, again, is arguably the most consistent driver in arguably the best Formula 2 season ever. And, took a risk, a gamble, not being part of the Mercedes Junior program anymore, but made a huge impression, got himself a seat. And then Franco, who, from a Formula 2 point of view, has been the least impressive out of the three of these youngsters, but he's been able to jump in, make an impression, take the opportunity that Logan Sargent presented him with by crashing all the time. And you know what? He's absolutely taken it. And he gave Alex something to think about for the first time in a very long time. Proved, again, those peaks of performances are there and gave Argentina their first full-time F1 driver in 23 years and first Formula 1 driver of, real there's a sense, isn't there, with Franco that he could be something special, okay? I'm not saying he's going to be like the greatest of all time, okay? But he could really represent this nation, which we haven't seen Argentina really be represented properly in Formula One since Carlos Reutemann, have we? So, and that was even before my day. I'm old, I'm not that old. Okay, I'm old, but not that old. But they've got options, Alpine. And it does make me think, it does make me think, what is this Alpine master plan? What is Briatore, Oaks, and De Mayo, I guess? What are they cooking? What are they up to? What are they playing at? I'm not really sure, I don't know. I'm just getting all these young drivers together. Okay, Ocon's out the door. You've got Pierre, who's pretty commercially strong and is driving very well. You've got Doohan, you've got Colapinto, you've got Paul Aaron. What is the plan, Alpine? This is the speculation part of this live stream. What is the plan? What are they working on? Oh, and thank you for reminding me, Josh, as well. Not only have they not only have they got Aaron and Colapinto, they also announced earlier today, this morning, before the Colapinto news, that Rio Hirakawa will join the team as a test and reserve driver alongside Paul Aaron, as they say it here, which is interesting because I don't think this is really anything serious in terms of a race seat, a full-time race seat anyway, because Hirakawa's done mileage in the Haas, done mileage in the McLaren as well. He is Toyota affiliated, and obviously Toyota have got their partnership with Haas. Potentially they're looking to get back into this sport down the line, I think, in the same way that Mick Schumacher was technically reserved for like McLaren and a couple of other teams as well, right? I think this is just Rio putting himself about and potentially doing a bit of background work for Toyota just to get him in position, get him in position to potentially exploit the opportunity that Haas might give them. If Gene Haas wants to sell up, then I think Toyota will be right there. And talking of selling up, look, we've spoken about this a lot, haven't we? Well, at least I do firmly believe Alpine are, Renault Group are preparing this team for a sale, and I think signing Briatore, bringing in Ollie Oaks, not so much bringing in Ollie Oaks. I think he's a young TP who deserved the opportunity, but Briatore knows what he's doing. Again, love him or loathe him, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to prepare a team and build up this asset and make it viable for a sale. And does this, look, is correlation causation, is this just because I believe they're going to sell the team, so then I'm seeing this news and then I'm just putting 2 and 2 together and making 4 because that's what I believe is going to happen anyway? I don't know, right? But you've got to say that if they can, not hoard, that's the wrong term, but if they can build out a really strong, driver basis, and you've got Pierre who can really lead that team forward, and then alongside him you've got either Doohan or Colapinto or Aaron, one of the three. I think all three merit a seat in F1, and it's fantastic that we're seeing these young drivers get these opportunities where, the end of 2023, not a single change in the driver transfer market after the season ended. So credit to Alpine for that, but also it does, I think, make a stronger case, a more appealing team to purchase if you are also signed up all this young, exciting talent, which certainly Aaron is, certainly Colapinto is, and I think Jack Doohan is, and I think he's getting firmly overlooked at the minute because his F2 season was quite a while ago and he didn't win it, but his performances in F2 were incredible. Now, will that carry over to F1? That's the question, right? Whereas Colapinto has proven he can do it in F1, even though his F2 season wasn't the most impressive, but it still wasn't bad, not by any stretch. He still finished, 7th in the end, considering he missed half the season because he was driving an F1. And then, of course, Paul Aaron as well. So, look, I guess we come back to Doohan, I've got to feel for Jack. You've got to feel for Jack, but they're the ones who've given him the opportunity. They are also I guess building out a bit of insurance perhaps. And obviously Colapinto's commercial pull is unquestionable. Okay, we saw the Mercado Libre yellow on the side of the Williams. That goes without saying. Jack doesn't have that. Paul Aaron doesn't really have that. He's got Stocker, which I believe is to do with his parents, I think. But yeah, so it's always going to be hard to fight against drivers who do also have that commercial pull, and I think that's going to be an integral part of. Well, it always has been an integral part of getting a seat in Formula One, hasn't it? It's about being able to offer more than just a quick driver on track, okay? The full package. And actually, if anything, you look at most motorsport that isn't Formula One, and a lot of these drivers, they consider themselves marketing experts, and their job above all else is to get sponsors before the driving. You look at BTCC, you look at Le Mans, you look at more like WEC, should I say? Although I suppose that's getting a bit more as WEC moves towards manufacturers. There's less of that, privateer sponsor money necessarily needed. But certainly in the vast majority of motorsport, that is the be all and end all. Bringing in money, bringing in support, and look, they've given him a shot. They will be starting the season with him. I see no reason why. Like, they've announced Colapinto as a reserve. It would be absolutely insane if they didn't start the season with Jack Doohan, and I firmly believe they will start the season with Jack Doohan. And to be honest, I think they'll give him a fair crack of the whip. And I think if Jack can demonstrate really good pace, really close to Pierre Gasly, and make himself undroppable, then fair play to. The thing is, he's a rookie, right? And with the commercial pull of Franco Colapinto and the proven commercial, we've seen the scenes in Buenos Aires in Argentina. Franco brings huge attention, okay? And that, again, makes this asset, Alpine F1 team, even more valuable if they can bring a Franco Colapinto alongside a Pierre Gasly. But it's a lot to ask as well. You put in a lot of expectation, a lot of pressure on Jack. And I do think if he gives them a sniff of a reason to swap him out for Colapinto, they will take it. So he needs to not, which is, again, a lot to ask. But they did give him Abu Dhabi, which is, look, it was a bit weird how it all played out with Ocon. I think that will help Jack, getting that monkey off his back, getting that first race done before his home Grand Prix. His home Grand Prix in Australia, remember, as well. That would be huge for him. So, like, I hope it works out for Jack. But at the same time, the pragmatic nature of Formula One, and I love that word, I think Alpine are certainly, they're banking on this one of these juniors, be that Aaron, be that Doohan, be that Colapinto, being part of the future of that team, whether or not the Alpine name sits above it outside. But what about Williams as well? Because I do wonder, is this a bit of a short-sighted decision from Williams? They've spoken that, from their point of view, in fact, I've got the little quote here from James Vowles. The Williams Racing Driver Academy exists to discover and develop the F1 stars of the future, which is exactly what it has done in Franco's case. We are proud to have returned Argentina to the F1 grid. Want to thank Franco for everything he has brought to the team and look forward to future battles on track. Very, very nice. Very, very, very nice sentiment from Williams. I mean, I want to know how much they got paid because to let Franco go, they could have kept Franco as a reserve driver. They could have used him for marketing activities. They could have got value out of him as a reserve. And just there in the background, that if, especially Albon, if he's not performing, Franco's there waiting. Also, we don't know if, is Sainz going to jump at the first opportunity? If a seat, if someone approaches him for 2026, would Sainz go? In which case, Franco could have slotted in alongside Alex for 2026 onwards. How much did they pay? That's a good question, yeah. We don't know. I don't know. They're not going to announce the details of that part. Then two parting ways. I mean, you look at the money that was being talked about with Mercado Libre, and the multiple millions of dollars, maybe even seven figures, for Franco to be in that seat. So you got to think this is got to be a sizable payoff from Alpine to Williams, just for a reserve driver as well. That's the thing. That is the thing. This is what again makes it difficult for Jack, because Alpine must have surely spent a bag here to get Franco Colapinto from Williams to Alpine. So when you've spent that money, just to leave him as a reserve, especially if Jack starts struggling, which, I mean, he's a rookie. Like, he's had one Grand Prix at the end of the season. Like, again, any opportunity, if Jack gives them a sniff, gives them even a slight chance to go with Colapinto instead, I think they will, because surely they've paid good money for him. So to just leave him as a reserve driver, that's going to be hard to justify. That's going to be very hard to justify. And you've got, Gabriel Mini coming through the chain as well. Very, very good point. They've got, you've got to say now, Alpine have got a very, very solid bed of young driver talent. Are any of them absolute top star quality? Hard to say. And Williams have let their main guy go, which again, surely this has been a big exchange of funds between the two teams, because James Vowles, he gave Franco the opportunity for a reason. He impressed when he did his first FP1 at Silverstone, and then jumped in the car, and yes, he was a bit crashy, sure, but the points were there. The performances were definitely there in terms of the peaks anyway. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It's all well and good Williams and Vowles in their statement being like, oh, we just want to see him get a seat. But come on, you got to look after yourselves. And Franco, I think, would have been a really good long-term option for Williams. So I reckon Alpine, I don't think they'd have let him go cheaply. That's all I'm saying. I don't think they'd have let him go cheaply at all. But I guess we'll see, won't we? What do you think in the live chat? What are we saying? How do we feel about this move, Colapinto to Alpine? Like, again, I think Alpine are just, it's almost like an insurance policy. Because if it doesn't work out with Doohan, and Doohan is certainly the rookie coming in with the least hype, Behrman's really proven quite a lot already. Antonelli's obviously his junior record speaks for itself. I guess Hadjar is, potentially a bit, not really sure about Hadjar. He's got great ultimate pace, but do you have faith that he's got the mentality and the mindset, given how liable he is to blowing up on the radio? That could be a bit of a risky one. But Doohan's kind of been a bit low key. It was announced quite early on. Again, if Franco had made the impression he had, if this had all happened earlier on in the season, then would Jack Doohan have even got that seat in the first place? It's hard to say, because again, he's been reserve test for a while now at Alpine, so they should have the data to make an informed decision on Jack Doohan. A more informed decision than the data they have on Paul Aaron, which Paul Aaron did the end of season test, so they've got a bit on him now. And certainly more than Franco Colapinto, who is very good in a Williams, which is not the same car as an Alpine. So it doesn't necessarily have to, it doesn't necessarily cross over. But yeah, they've certainly not made it easy on Jack, have they? They've certainly not made it easy on him, but you can make the argument that maybe that's the way it should be. And with so many youngsters coming into the sport now, we'll have 22 seats next year, which is weird to say, but we will, with Cadillac joining for 2026. But as of right now, there's still only 20. And yeah, I think Jack's days in an Alpine are numbered if he doesn't make a very, very good impression very, very early on. Because yeah, Colapinto's going to be waiting. He's going to be snipping at the heels, isn't he? Waiting for his way in. And again, if they've paid off Williams in a big way to get him, then it's going to be hard to justify spending all that money. That we don't know how much it is, but you can assume it's a fair bit to leave someone as a reserve driver. And what about Paul Aaron? I wonder how Paul Aaron feels about this, right? Paul Aaron obviously signed at the end of last year, and you felt like, oh, hang on, maybe, you know, he's had a strong F2 season. If Jack starts to fumble, then Paul Aaron's got a great shot. And then they sign Colapinto. Three don't go into one, do they? Three do not go into one. And look, Pierre Gasly, I think there's a fair assumption that we're all assuming he's going to, you know, be firmly number one over, whether it's Doohan or Aaron or Colapinto. Remains to be seen, you know, remains to be seen. But Alpine, well done for cooking. Well done for giving us something. All right. I wasn't planning on streaming today, but here we are. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate everyone in the live chat. Braden, Russell, Smokey, Zoe, Lucas, Fast Formula, Mabini. Appreciate you all taking the time and getting involved. And yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here. My name's Tomo. It was a pleasure, as always. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for liking and subscribing, which I'm sure you've already done. And the streams are coming back in a big way this year. You've got a little, this is a little early preview of what the graphics are going to look like for this year. And the new little Tommos Race CHINWAG logo up there. Posh. Little cover artwork as well. And new little thumbnail template as well. I think it looks kind of cool. But yeah. My name's Tomo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Cheerio. Tada. Adios. Arrivederci. I'm done. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.